One thing I had never experienced in my lifetime until now was inflation. You've obviously gone through a cycle of that. How does the inflation now compare to then?
In the 80s versus now, we have access to a lot more information. Our fear was, I don't know, how can I describe it? It's like smaller than it is now. Now it's the whole world.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Tom Storey Show. I appreciate you being here. I hope you are having a wonderful Sunday morning or whatever day of the week you are watching our show. If you're watching us on YouTube, all I ask, if you have not already, make sure to subscribe. Join our growing community. And I had said this on the last episode, but it really holds true, is that the more people that subscribe and like and comment and share, which is huge for us, the bigger the show grows and the bigger the guests we can get. And that's how we probably got the guests that we have this week. So if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're listening on the audio platforms, make sure to leave us a rating on Apple Podcast. Today's guest is someone who I very much look up to. I don't use this word lightly, but like a legend of the real estate industry. And Mary, just because you've been doing this longer than us doesn't make you a legend. It's because you've been doing it longer at an extremely high level for a long, long time. I'm really excited to introduce Mary Roy. Got her real estate license in 1987, I believe. Mostly
That's
focuses
right.
on the Ajax region with Remax, Hallmark. Mary Roy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here with you because I remember the first time you went on stage with Richard Robbins. And you had no clue, no idea. And look at you. You're a superstar now. I look up to you.
Oh, my God. Well, I really appreciate you saying that. So, Steve, me and Mary were seating at the same table at a wedding, like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And we were catching up. I was like, you got to come on the show. Like, I'd love to hear what you have to think about the market right now, because frankly, you've seen this happen before. You've been through up markets, down markets. So just a bit of a background for the people that don't know you or maybe don't travel through Ajax that often, because if they do, they're going to see your signs everywhere. You've been doing real estate for a little while now, right?
Yeah, I've been in the business since 87, and I do work. Now you find me everywhere in the Durham region.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because our clients have moved to many different areas. But the areas you'll see my signs a lot is Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby.
Yep.
Because that's where we focused most. Yes, you are right, Tom. I have seen everyone is afraid. Actually, we just had our team meeting right now, and I'm like, yeah, our numbers are not where we want to be. But you know what, guys? You just have to get focused. You have to focus on your end result, and it's okay. The sales are still there. Everything is still happening. And we have a lot more, like versus 89 to now, the opportunities are endless. So nothing to be afraid of.
You know, I did a kickoff speech for a brokerage in my market 2 days ago. And I kind of asked the room, and I know not everyone that listens to the show is a real estate agent, but I think people would appreciate this. And I was like, what's the general vibe in here? Is anyone like happy with their year? And no hands went up. Everyone was like, nah, not really. And I actually went back and I looked at the amount of sales that have happened in the first 8 months of the year, just for my numbers for like just the city of Toronto. And in 2021, there was like 30,000 that had happened. In 2022, it was way lower. I think it was like 22,000. And then this year it was 17,000. So just if you look at the market and the opportunities that present themselves from that crazy 2021 year, sales volume is legitimately down 40%. 40% less transactions are happening. And just from last year, we're down 15%. So I think that's interesting, not just for real estate agents, but for consumers as well. Because some of that's inventory driven too. Like right now in Durham, is there a lot to choose from? Because condo inventory is building up. Are your buyers having issues finding what they want for a freehold?
Anything up to about $1 million, our inventory is pretty low. So just to give you an example, I listed a home last night. It's going to be listed around like $849. and our goal is to get around like 920, 930. There were only like 4 homes really competing with them. The other ones were townhomes. So there was like 9 listings up to like 850. And then what I told them is we're going to go 849, 898. So we're the first one instead of all the 849.9. So that price range, we have nothing. Anything over $1 million too, there are quite a few homes. You are right. Our sales, but the one thing, and I said the same thing in our team this morning, is everybody is comparing to COVID, stats. Well, that's not a real market. I've never seen that in 36 years. If you look at the sales year after year, forget COVID, 3 years, we're just in a normal market. You always have the seller's market, the buyer's market. They take turns. Okay, what this year, who is it? Is it the sellers, is it the buyers, depending on inventory? Are we going to have a buyer's market? I think so in the next year, because a lot of folks that bought from January to, let's say, April of 22, they paid, like anywhere from 100 to 300,000 more than what the home is worth today. The rates were at 2 something, even though they were qualified at a higher rate because of what was happening then. So they're panicking, but I explained to them, I said, don't panic. Just, the banks are being proactive instead of you doing 25-year amortization. I heard someone told me you could go up to 75. Go that way for a year.
Is that not a little scary though?
I know, but just do it for a year or 2 so you can carry your payments. Yeah. Don't panic and lose your home. Real estate always goes up. You just got to hang on to your real estate. My parents paid $33,000 for their semi in East York. I sold it 8 years ago for almost $900,000. Now it's probably $1.4 million.
Right.
So you never lose money in real estate. You just can't panic when things are happening. You got to take a look. What are the different things that I can do? How can I be proactive?
So
sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Keep going. Yeah.
No, I was just going to share. I went to see a client and they said, our mortgage is coming due. We have a mortgage rate of 1.9 and now it's going to be 6%. We can't afford it. And I said, what's the amount of your mortgage? And she said, it's $150,000. And I started to laugh. I go, $150,000, even at 6%, is not that much. I said, let's call the bank right now and find out what your payments would be. So basically, instead of doing like the 10 years, whatever they were paying, or the 25 years, let's go for a longer term, right? And then they gave the different options. The payments weren't going to be that much. I said, so see, you don't have to sell your home. You don't have to panic. You're happy here. Your home is great. You don't want to move for at least another 3 to 4 years before you move away from Pickering. So you retire, go to a condo, whatever, because they're in their late 60s. And they go, well, Mary, you wanted to, we brought you here and you're telling us not to sell our home. But those are the things that our consumer needs to understand. Don't panic, because if you panic, you're going to make choices or decisions. I think a lot of folks are going to panic. They're going to sell their homes, then they won't be able to get back in the market. Like, to really, really check out all the different options and all the different things you can do, and everything is going to be okay. We just can't panic.
Because you've seen this happen before, right? At different times over 36 years. Like, can you relate this back to at any point? Like, you got your license at 87, so you went through 89 to 96 of a downfall. Yeah. Does this feel like that? Is this different? Like from someone that's done both, what are your thoughts?
In 89, it was totally different. I remember going to the banks, begging the banks to renew the mortgage because it was different then. They didn't just automatically renew, they panicked. And they were basically saying, the home is worth $80,000 less. We're doing power sale, whatever. We don't want to renew. You have to qualify. Now the banks are being proactive because they don't want to be where they were in 89. Yes, the prices were a lot lower. Actually, I was looking for my figures because I did a little bit of homework for a video that I did for our clients. Mm-hmm. Sorry, this thing keeps falling out.
Don't worry about it.
And the rates in 89, if I remember correctly, they were like 15%, and then they came like to 12%, whatever. And the prices, yeah, like now a house that's selling for, I mean, I'm going to use the exact same house that I remember in Ajax at that time was selling for 389, and now that exact same home is selling, let's say, for $1,400,000. Well, our rates are 5%. They're not 15. So if you really calculate and do the extended amortization, you're not, you're not going to, you're going to be okay. Like I really believe. And then the other thing too in 89 is we had a whole, like I'm speaking Durham region, we had a whole bunch of new construction going up. We had so many homes being built and not enough buyers, because in 89, Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Durham region was like the end of the world, even for me when I moved here at the beginning of the 80s, right? In 82. Yeah. So now we don't have, the builders stopped building probably about 5 years ago because they got scared. They didn't want to be stuck with inventory. They banked a lot of land. There's a lot of banked land to build, but they're holding on to see what's happening in the market. So there are a lot more immigrants coming in, that need homes that we don't have enough inventory for. So no, it's a totally different market that I'm going through right now than it was in 89. Are there similarities? Yeah, because, everybody is afraid what's happening. The prices came down. Like prices came down 80 to 100,000 in 89. That was a lot for the Durham region at that time. Now the prices have come down. Maybe they came down, let's say 250, but now they're back up 75,000. So they're around like 150 to 200. Let's just.
And I guess $100,000 coming down.
That
to 89.
Was just.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that scarier. Was just like from January to March. Anybody that bought a house before January, or they bought a house in May, June, July, the market was already changed because it changed so quick. So we're all calculating and, going by the highest, but not what the average or the real market is. I don't know, because I'm old school. I always check everything out, and I don't listen to what everybody just makes it an average, so it's like, no, you guys are not right. Like, do your homework, like really go out and check area, price range, type of home, all the mortgage rates, all those things, and then give me some true facts. So you don't scare our consumers.
Well, I think scaring the consumers is half the fun with the news.
That's the whole point of the show, isn't
it? That's what makes everything, right?
That's why people are listening to us, Mary.
But I'm the only, I feel like I was like that in 89. It's so funny. And I'm like that in 2023. It's like, I'm in a war, and I'm just one soldier against like 70,000 soldiers. But I'm going to win. I don't care. Because whoever works with us, they're going to be educated. They're going to make the right choices. And in 3-5 years, they're going to tell their friends, family to say, hey, you want to get great advice? You pick the right person that's going to give you what you need to know, not what everybody else is doing.
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by Doormat.ca. Everyone is looking for a real estate lawyer that they can trust. So in Ontario, you're going to need a real estate lawyer to close a property. So whether you're buying or selling, you're going to need a real estate lawyer to help you. Doormat is Ontario's real estate lawyer now. Now, it's an online real estate law firm. So it's basically taking what you've experienced before with real estate lawyers to the 21st century, and it brings transparency and simplicity to the real estate transaction, which typically for a lot of people is like a black box. They don't really know what's going on. They're like, has the transaction actually closed? Well, Doormat is going to make that a lot better for you moving forward.
With Doormat, you get a personalized dashboard that enables you to track the progress of your closing, share information with your lawyer as needed, and access important documents whenever you need them. Use Doormat to close your real estate transaction in Ontario, and you get a real estate lawyer with personalized service and a custom dashboard to help you stay on top of everything that is happening with your purchase or sale. If you're buying or selling a property in the province of Ontario, Canada, reach out to doormat.ca today and tell them that you heard about their services on the Tom Storey Show.
I've looked at a lot of these programs before, and Doormat knows what they're doing. I would highly recommend them, and I hope you check out their services. And now, back to the show. So, Mary, you said that you had moved out east out of Toronto, I think in the 80s. And you said at that point of time, there was a lot of development going on and people were basically saying, like, where the hell is Durham? Like, why are we going all that way out here to the end of the earth? What took you out there then? Because that was before now everyone's going out there.
Well, the reason I moved out here, actually, a friend of mine, Dina, she worked with me at Royal Trust in the mortgage department, and I separated with my husband, and I had a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I didn't know where to go, and I wanted to go totally out of the area. So I'll never forget, I moved to 1210 Radom in Pickering. And when I came out here, I had no idea the nuclear plant was like right close to the building where I moved to. And they gave me these pills and stuff that I was supposed to give to my kids or us, like if something happens at the nuclear plant, right? So I worked downtown Toronto and I had to take the GO train. Never took a GO train before, only subway and the bus. And I said, what happens if something happens and my children are going to be so far away? So I thought this was totally like, because I lived in the west end of Toronto. So that's why I moved out here. It was just a life change.
So when you moved into the building, they dropped off pills, you said, in case something happened at the nuclear plant?
Yeah, every year actually in Pickering, we get this package that
Still?
if something is to happen, yeah, you still do. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I just watched Meltdown at 3 Mile Island, so I don't think I'm moving to Pickering anytime
No,
soon.
you're very safe. Actually, if anything happened, we would be probably safe. That's what someone explained to me, a friend of mine that works in the nuclear plant, because we're so close in the way the wind and the air and everything. So we would be safer being closer to it than the people that's a little bit out.
So they send you like iodine
Scarborough.
pills? They send you like iodine pills in the mail?
Yeah, they send you
a
a package that if there is an emergency, that's right.
Wow.
So we're okay.
We're did not know that.
Before anyone else. Yeah.
Do you add that to your closing gifts?
No, only we're not allowed to give them out. So.
Yeah, I figured.
Are you saying that there's a chance that Pickering real estate goes nuclear? Is that what you're saying? Is that sounds like an amazing title?
Can we use that as a title?
No. No, actually, they are closing down the nuclear plant in Pickering. So,
okay. And
it's going to be some historical building. So we're going to be all right.
Interesting. That's so crazy.
So is that area like that? So that's the burbs. So that's like my equivalent, basically. Yes. So people from there are commuting into Toronto, or is that too far to go?
No, they commuted to Toronto. The GO train, it's 40 minutes. It's not that bad. It's like you're in Mississauga or in Oakville traveling to downtown Toronto.
Okay, cool.
I just to put perspective on that, I live in Toronto and it takes me 30 minutes to drive to my downtown office. So it's like it's not that much longer.
And it's way nicer to sit in a GO train than it is to drive in Toronto. Yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
Mary, Tom and I have plans. I'm going to fly into Toronto next month. And Tom's like, let's schedule a dinner for the night before. He's like, let me know if you can make it. And I was like, well, my flight gets in at 3, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to the restaurant by 6 o'clock. So let me know. Last time I was in an Uber for 2.5 hours.
Where are you from?
I'm in Surrey, BC.
Oh, beautiful BC.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Surrey is the Durham of BC, or of Vancouver? Is that how you would say it?
I think it might be.
Yeah. Just what, 35, 40 minutes outside the city, and people commute into the city. Like, do people go to Vancouver every day from Surrey? Is that how it happens?
Yeah. That's actually a tie for us to one of the, technically kind of the worst neighborhoods. The worst neighborhood is where the train goes to get you downtown faster, right? So a lot of people end up in those tougher. So they're finally starting to expand that stuff. But a lot of people end up in those tougher areas, specifically if they're new to Canada and they're tied to the train.
Right.
Because they all get jobs downtown. I guess if I was to like move to Toronto, or if I was to move to, I don't know, Australia, I'd be looking at, like, I guess it's Sydney. I don't know. Like, I'm going to go to a major city, right? I'm not going to probably look at the suburbs. And if I am going to look at the suburbs, I'm probably not looking at driving every single time. So I would assume that's why those major transit areas. So do you have build up then? Are they going, Mary, for density around your train stations? How is that developing where you are right now?
Yeah, right now we have 4 big projects of all condos going up around where the GO station is, and like where the main core is of Pickering, that you have access to the highway, to the GO train, to buses, like GO bus, any of that stuff. Yeah.
And are your clients buying that, or is that Toronto investors buying that stuff up?
There are a lot of both. A lot of, I would say, more people come from Toronto and the West End to the Durham region, because our prices are still more affordable than anywhere else. So,
yeah, because we noticed that here, most of our investment in the downtown core area of Surrey, it's actually nobody from Surrey.
Yeah,
it's actually people from Burnaby and from Vancouver that look and go, well, that's cheap. It's near the train. I'll get a good tenant in there that can commute downtown and pay a good price. But then they got to be very careful, because that area has some very good spots, and that area, like anywhere, has some very bad spots. And a lot of these people are buying in some of the worst developments, I'm finding. So I guess that leads to, because a lot of these guys now, that area is actually dominated by Vancouver agents, and they're not even dominated by Surrey-based agents that understand that area very well. So it's really interesting. That's what's happening because it's almost all entirely investment now.
Well, yesterday they had the grand opening for this new project that they're building by the Pickering Town Center. They're going to build a hotel and 5 towers, and it's supposed to be really, and they had over 1,000 agents in the lineup waiting to register. And I would probably say that over 70% of those agents were not agents in the Durham region. They were coming in like from Toronto.
Did they announce prices yesterday?
Yeah, they did.
What is it per square foot? I'd be so super curious.
I knew you were going to ask me that.
That's okay.
I cannot remember. I'm sorry, but
let me ask you a more pointed question for our real estate audience. What did they serve for lunch?
I don't think there was any lunch there.
Oh my God!
One of my open houses.
1,000 agents showed up, and there wasn't a lunch.
No, we're not in BC here.
But there, I guess 1,000 people show up. It sounds like there's demand for this project. Sounds like people are interested.
It's going to be a pretty cool project. The only thing that I worry about is someone being in real estate for a long time. Like, you know how I said I moved to 1210 Radom? Well, it's really cool because, I've lived in so many different homes, different areas in Durham, and now I'm back in a condo in a penthouse looking across to 1210 Radom, where I started in 1981, 82. And I didn't even have enough money to buy groceries for my kids and me because I was a single mom. So every day when I wake up in the morning, I look at the condo right in the corner, right across, much lower level. It was on the 11th floor. And I say, you know how we should always count our blessings and be grateful for things in life. Every morning when I look at the beautiful view of the lake and that I have right now, and I look down at the building, I say, thank you for everything that I have achieved in my life, and look where I am. But going back to your question about the condos, I bought in a condo complex. There are 3 buildings. The building I live in is the highest. It's 26 floors, and it looks at the lake. I bought looking at the lake. All 3 condos have views of the lake. So I bought in there because I know no matter what, nobody's going to have the view that I have. So that's why I bought there. The buildings where I bought, again, in another complex that's by the GO train, there are going to be 4 buildings by the GO train. It's going to be, like you said, a lot of investors, But a lot of people like myself, I've invested on a condo in there, and my granddaughter is going to buy it. So I'm basically transferred the name to my granddaughter. And then I'm going to take my grandson to go and buy another one in the next building that's going to be ready in 2007. And the only reason I like that complex there is because you're right by the GO train. You don't have to have a car, because and most of the young people that are buying in there are people that they don't have, like they might not have a car because they're going to travel to downtown Toronto, because they have no parkings. If you're buying the small units, and there's also a mixture in there in those buildings, not only small units like 400, 600, they're like 800, 900, 1100. So a lot of the baby boomers have bought in there. Our local people, a lot of them have bought in there. So it's going to be more like a residence, like where I am, not all investors.
Are they downsizing into those buildings? Is that the idea?
Yeah, like me, right? A lot of us are doing that. So there's a huge amount of people right now, baby boomers, that we're not ready to go to, like a senior's home, but we don't want to take care of a home like myself. So we want to live in a really nice place. So those ones, and they're also in the higher buildings, you have a bit of a view of the lake. The ones they're building now, the new ones by the Pickering Town Center, it's going to be a huge complex. I mean, they're trying to create a whole different thing where you're going to have like sports and all this different stuff, for activities for the people. So it's a whole new thing. I think it's going to be good. I think it's good for Durham, even though folks like myself, we're trying to figure out how is everybody going to get in and out of where it's being built for traffic and congestion. But what I explain to our clients is I live in a complex. There are 3 high-rise buildings. I get in and out of my condo, never have to wait for a car to make a right turn or a left turn into the complex, because everybody leaves at different times. Everybody's doing different things. So I really don't think we need to worry. So for those folks that are worried about it, I'm sure they did the studies and they know what they're doing. And then there's another one that they're building by Liverpool in the 401, which is another huge project that they're doing. I think there are 5 buildings. So me as an investor, what I worry about, there are too many buildings altogether by the time they're finished. It's going to be a long time. It's probably going to be like 10 years before they're all done. I don't know. Like if you're an investor, I'm sure there's going to be a bit of, it's high now. There's be a bit of a dip, then you have to wait and then it will go up again.
Mary, can I take the conversation off real estate for a second? I just wanted to go back to something that you said, because I think this is really important, not just for me and Steve, and I'd also love to know your answer, but for the people listening. You mentioned, okay, so now at this stage of your life, and you've had many years of being wildly successful in this industry, and I know you've worked your ass off to do it, but you mentioned how you look down and you can see the place that you first moved to when you went through a separation and you had kids, and you're wondering, like, how do I even pay for groceries? And it was probably a crazy stressful moment of time for you.
Yeah.
How did you get out of that? How did you change it? What was the mindset like? Like, how did you push forward from a moment in time that I'm sure was like, very difficult?
It was really difficult. I was scared. I moved in a place that I thought it was the end of the world because I didn't know anything about Durham. And I had to leave my kids in Pickering and go work downtown Toronto. I could only get home by the schedule of the GO train. My parents helped me because, I was like a real Susie homemaker, made my own bread, made my own pasta and all that stuff. And I had to learn to be on my own with my kids. But I never gave up. Like I never gave up. But that's just how the way I'm built. Like when I worked in mortgages, we were going through that stage where the interest rates were 19%, and people would, they said, "Oh my God," like they didn't have the mortgage. Oh, what's it called? Oh my goodness! Like what the penalty is going to be. That's what I was working on.
Okay.
So I bring home 20, 30 files to make sure that these poor folks knew what their penalties were going to be, because if they sold their home, they didn't have enough money, and they come in because I had like about 200 accounts I was in charge of. And these people would come in crying and saying, like, I sold my home and I have to come up with $30,000 or $50,000 because the penalties were huge then because the rates changed and they had to sell their homes. That was like in the late 70s, right? Like 70s, beginning of the 80s. And I was really sad, and I didn't want them to go through that. So I'd be the person that took the files home, worked till midnight, 1 a.m, found out what their penalties were for their discharging their mortgages, call their agents, call them to let them know, because the agents would send the form in, and we had to have it ready for them. And I learned that I hated realtors because they didn't get all their information. And then these poor people would come in and have these surprises of these penalties. So I started, actually, I remember I talked to some agent. I said, don't you dare accept an offer or sell the home unless you know what the penalty is. Because these folks don't have enough, like what they had in a down payment, what the house, the value of the home was. And then actually I met my husband, my second husband, Robert. And he said, he came home to me one day and he said, Mary, but this was like after I lived on my own with my kids. And Robert said, Mary, why don't you get your real estate license and be a realtor? And I said, I will never be a real estate agent. Like they're shysters and all this stuff. And he said, but you work so hard. You bring your work home from Royal Trust and you're working till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. You're taking the GO train at 7 in the morning to go back and make sure everybody has the information. You might as well work for yourself. So then I took my real estate course and just to go back a little bit, if you want to know about my personal life, like I never even finished grade 9. I was married when I was even 16 years old. I have a son that's 51 years old. So I've been a go-getter since I was a kid. I've been a fighter. So when I was alone with my kids, I'll never forget, my dad came over one day and I said, Dad, I don't have enough money to buy groceries for us. And my dad said, we'll give it to you. And they did, but I didn't want to ask them. I had too much pride. I made this choice to go forward with my children. I wanted to make a go of it. So they helped me once, but then I made sure that I budgeted and then I went, like Robert and I, we went out for a year because I wanted to make sure things were going to work out. Then we bought a home in Ajax. I got into real estate and I did enjoy the first year. I basically used to go and help at the school with the kids. Robert came home one day and I had like 20 kids eating lunch in my home and he says, what are you doing? Like bringing all the kids home for lunch. And I said, well, this little guy lives with like they had issues and I wanted to help them. And then of course I got my license. I started working. I used to go door knocking every day from 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock at night to build my business. I used to do open houses every Saturday, every Sunday. I used to go and walk my farm area every single day. If someone put up a new door, they did new landscaping, they did anything, I would go and put a really nice note on their door and say, and then all of a sudden I became like this, like nobody was allowed to list on the street except Mary. So I guess I'm blessed that I never give in. Like today, our team meeting, I was doing a bit of a hurry because I wanted to come in on your show. And I said, guys, our numbers suck. Yes, they do suck. But you know what? We have to get focused. We got to get focused on the end result. What are we going to do this week to make sure that we're going to help one more family? What is it that we need to do? How are we going to make a change or touch their lives that they'll never forget us? And if they want to buy a home, they call nobody but us. And everybody had to come up with an idea. So I don't know. I spent a lot of time with my grandfather, and my grandfather was a huge mentor. He was very educated. He read a lot of books. So maybe he's the man that inspired me. My dad was a dreamer. He always dreamt big. But he was not as go-getter as I am. So I think my mom was just in a car accident, and actually she had 2 punctured lungs, broken ribs, broke a pelvis. And I never knew what a rock she is. Like if it was me, I told the doctor, the surgeon, I said, if it was me, give me morphine, knock me out. I've lived an amazing life. But my mom is fighting it, and she's pulling through. She's been in the hospital 6 weeks. She probably has another 6 to go or more, but she's fighting every day. So I guess I have my dad, the dreamer, my mom, the rock, my grandfather, the mentor, and I just never give in. I think life is such an amazing gift.
Tom, I'm not going to let you jump in here. Can I point out right now that, like you said, when your impression of real estate agents when you were in the mortgage business was not positive, and then someone, just the energy of your last few minute rant here and the positivity of such a terrible situation, this is why someone like Mary Roy crushes this business. Because you don't come in with this whole down in the dirt, what the market's going to do tomorrow, what's going to happen in the industry. Can I time the market like all of our YouTube commenters are going to be worried about? It's go to work every single day, a hell of a good smile on your face, a ton of energy and positivity, which I really got to work at. But that is why, like, what most people don't understand is the people that crush it in our business are not those, probably the majority of the people that the public run into out there.
That's a good point.
They are the people with this mindset. And we're lucky to all run in the same kind of group. And this is the type of realtor, Mary is the type of realtor that I come in contact with most often. And that positivity is infectious. Some of them, I'm going to name, I'm going to do it because I love her so much.
You're saying nice things, right, Steve?
I'm going to do it because I love her so much. But Anita Painter, one of my best friends in the business, amazing person. Let's face it, she's a little crazy, but man, and I think, Mary, don't get mad at me. I think you fall in the same category. But holy crap, man! Like, energy, positivity. How are we getting through this? What are we doing next? How can I bring more value tomorrow? I mean, this is what our industry should shoot for. So I'm glad that you're here, just so people can understand where we come from. Because most of our day is spent a lot of the time analyzing numbers, and people telling us, well, maybe next month's going to get me an extra $5,000-$10,000. It's like, that is not the role of a real estate agent who's going to succeed. A role is, how do we advance? How do we do better for more people? How do we come and inspire not only our employees but our clients every single day? So I just want to say this is awesome. This is fantastic, and I appreciate you being here. More of our agents need to be and come with the intensity that you do every day.
Mary, can I ask you a question that you don't have to answer? Is retirement even a word you've even thought of?
No, you know what, Tom? I'm 68. I just turned 68 in August. And this morning at the meeting, I said to the team, because I did an open house yesterday on one of our listings, a $2 million house. And all the young people that were coming in, I just felt so old. And I said to the team this morning, I said, I went home last night and I started really evaluating the window. I've heard this, I'm probably not going to say it right, but the window behind me, like all the years I've gone through, were 68 years. And I have, like, let's say my mom is 84. So by the time I said to the team, 12 years, I'm going to be 80. Like, that's an old lady. I said, so I love tennis. I love golf. I'm no good at it because I never played any sports.
Because you were selling homes.
Because all I do is work. I said to the team, I am going Friday to get back into my tennis. I'm going to get back into my golfing. I'm going to take clients out for coffee. I'm going to take clients out for lunch because I'm going to build our business. I'm going to be in the background inspiring you and pushing you guys. But I'm going to take time for me and enjoy life, because if I can give any advice to anyone, not just real estate people, is don't let your life fly by you and then you miss out. Like, I'm so blessed. In the last 10 years, I would say I've traveled, I've done so many things in my life that I never even dreamt of. And if I was to die today, I'd be going really peaceful because I'm okay. I've had an amazing life, right? But I don't want to leave. Like, I just rebranded. We're coming out with a new rebranding, even though I'm 68 years old.
Love it.
We're creating new books. We're creating new flyers, a whole new look. Because damn, my legacy is going to be powerful. It's not going to be, I was saying to the team, I remember the Lucy Batesons and the Ed Thomas, the people that when I came in, I was a little kid, the kids in my open house yesterday. I said, I am not leaving like those people. I'm going to leave kicking and on fire. So you guys are going to get out there, do the legwork for me, and I'm going to be behind you creating more business for you.
And can I just say something? I want the viewers to keep this in mind. Mary, you've been crushing it for 36 years in this industry. If Mary Roy can get up on the weekend and do her own open house, which you don't need to do, I'm sure you don't need to sell real estate right now anymore. And it was funny, even when you were explaining how you built your business, you lead generated all day long. You tried to meet new people. You knocked on doors. You told people that you liked what they did with their front step or whatever it was to make sure that they remembered who you were.
Yeah.
A real estate agent today, I don't care if they're 18 years old, that started yesterday, could still do those same things and succeed. But we've all become so like, well, what's the easy way? What online lead generation thing can I sign up for and pay them this to get this opportunity? What you did then would still work now. This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by the Agent Confidential Live. On October the 26th in Toronto, we are doing a full day event for real estate agents. Let's call it what it is. Sales volume is down. Interest rates are probably going to stay higher for longer than a lot of people think. And if you're serious about your business, this is the place you want to be. Now, I know some people listening or watching this show are not real estate agents. But hey, tell your real estate agent they gotta be at this event. Listen to this speaker lineup. Eric Simon, aka the Broke Agent, aka the guy that runs BAM. He's flying all the way over to headline this conference. Kaylee Heaps, the #1 team leader in Royal LePage Canada out of 20,000 people. Matt Leonetti, Shay Warrington, who's the #2 individual agent in Canada. Nolan Mathias, the YouTube GOAT. Anna Oliver, Brad McCallum, Emma Pace, Natalie McGuire. I mean, come on. This list is insane. Oh, also, yeah, me and Steve are speaking at this event also, but don't worry, go for the other people. October the 26th, it's happening in Toronto. The seats actually legitimately are limited. We don't have that many. I'm not just saying that. So if you're interested in your ticket, make sure to go into the show notes or in the description if you're watching this on YouTube and sign up. This is going to be an event you're not going to want to miss if you're a real estate agent in Toronto. And now, back to the show. What's changed, really?
Nothing has changed. You want to make a difference in people's, like last night I listed a home to a 91-year-old. Her daughter bought a house from us 19 years ago. She recommended us to her three brothers. I met with her and her brother, and she didn't say a word. And he said, now I know why my sister loves you. And the only reason after all these years that they contacted us is because we send them, like we do a movie day every year. We do like the Halloween thing. Like we have 21 touches a year. And she said, my kids are now all grown up, but they used to go to your Santa photo day. They went to your movie day. They went to all this stuff. Mary makes a difference. And when I was sitting with the 91-year-old mom last night, because when I went the first time to meet the mom, she has lived in her home 62 years. And the kids go, so mom, are you ready to sign the paperwork? And instantly I said, no, she's not. I'm going to come to her new home and we're going to do the paperwork, because she got teary, right? And when I was sitting at the table last night, I said to her, Mrs. Hogan, I am so honored to be here because your daughter believes in us. And I'm not here just to sell a home. I'm here to take care of you and make sure that this whole process is going to be like, you haven't sold a home in 62 years, so you don't have a lot to compare to, but I'm going to make sure you'll never forget us. And then the other thing I asked her is, I have been like working with a lot of clients that are selling their homes, moving into seniors' home. I've gone out, shopped, I checked every senior's home that there are in the Durham region. I know what their fees are, what their accommodations are, what the staff is like, the community feel of the place. And I said to her, will you do a video with me? Because I've been talking a lot about this situation because I'm 68. I'm going to be there too, and maybe hopefully now for 10 years at least. I said, so would you do a video with me? And she said, I'm going to be a movie star. I said, yeah, you're going to be a movie star with Mary Roy. And then her daughter started laughing and all that. And I said, but I have to bring you the money first. And I have to deliver all the commitments that I made to you sitting at your table today. And then you can be my movie star. So like you said, like if you're a realtor out there, I don't care if you're 20 years old, if you're 60 like me in your 60s, just when you meet someone, look for that. Every time I meet someone is, okay, I have a puzzle. There are pieces missing in the puzzle. What do I need to do to make sure this whole puzzle comes together? Don't just go in there to list the home, put the house on the market, get your commission, sell your house. Guys, you might do that short term, but you won't be around 36 years kicking
Agreed.
like I am. I don't pay for leads. I don't buy leads. Like we continue our business based on our clientele, repeat referrals, word of mouth, reputation, and you have to earn that. You don't just earn that by, not taking care of people, by not making a difference, by not touching someone in their lives. If there's one thing I want to leave in my legacy as a realtor is I hope that when I'm gone, whoever I touched, whether it's a realtor, I love to mentor. I love to help new agents, give them new ideas. They listen to me, they think I'm like their grandmother. And I say, I don't care what you think of me, but listen to what I'm telling you because it will work for you. But whenever they're going through a hard day or a hard time or the market is crazy and they don't think they're going to make it, that they're going to say, if Mary Roy was here right now, this is what she would be doing. This is how she would kick butt big time. And I have so many of those, and I'm so proud to say that they're all doing great. And anytime they're having a hard day, they'll call me, a lot of them, and say, hey, Mary, I need a Mary Roy kick in the butt, or I need a Mary Roy hug. And that gives me more joy than any amount of money. Or when I sell the house and I could do this video with this, our client, that's going to give me more joy than any amount of the fee that I don't need to work for the money. Financially, I'm okay. I just love what I do. I want to make a difference in people's lives. And I have so much more to give. I want to go and speak and help agents and help our industry. But I have to free myself and allow the team to go forward, and my daughter Ornella, and just let go of the control and let them learn in their own way, right?
Mary, we were discussing at the table at the wedding, the last few years and price points and stuff. And I was just curious if you could share what you were talking to me about, and something along the lines of, because we talked at the beginning of this, how the under $1 million is pretty active. And you had mentioned that this year versus last year, the percentage of homes your team has sold under a certain threshold is much higher because less transactions happen above there. I think the viewers would find that really interesting, just to where is the action actually happening in the market?
Yeah, I did a study because I did an update for a house that we have listed around $1.3 million, $1.4 million. And then I have another one that's $2 million. And basically what I did is I checked everything that's sold. I think it was from July 1st to August 15 in 2022 versus 2023.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, because I don't have it in front of me, we sold 4 houses more in the price range between $1.2 million to $1.5 million. So we sold 4 more homes this year than we sold last year.
Okay.
Even though everybody's saying our market sucks this year. Well, at the same time, we did the same amount of sales, right? The other difference was last year, we sold a lot more homes over $1.2 million than what we sold this year. This year, the sales were under $1 million. up to 1,000,001, 1,000,002. So that was the difference, right? The sales were there, but the price range was lower. And because our prices now are over 1,000,002, a lot of the homes, so those homes are not moving. And that's what your clients are, the realtors are like, okay, the market is not moving. No, the market is moving. You just got to go and knock on doors of homes that are 800,000, 900,000. You have to go and check that, get some of the buyers, that are looking for homes, figure out a way how they can get in the market, maybe buy new inventory, like the condos that are closing in 2-3 years, help them save their money. So you got to check out what's happening on the market, and you got to figure out a way, okay, how am I going to help, and how am I still going to keep up my sales? So
Totally.
when I met with the team this morning, I said, yeah, our sales are down, but you know why? It's because we haven't been focused. It's the first year everybody in our industry really have a normal year, right? And so we're taking vacations, we're taking time with our families because we couldn't get together with families, all those things. So everybody has been busy doing other things, blaming everything else for things not happening. But really, the opportunities were there. It's just we weren't fully focused on it. So could we have done our sales? Yes, sales are down 30%, but we could have done more than what we have done.
So we've never seen, I've been in a normal market. I've been licensed since 2008. I came in at that wonderful time. And then until 2015, it was a very normal market. It was very cyclical. But one thing I had never experienced in my lifetime until now was inflation. You've obviously gone through a cycle of that, maybe not in your real estate career, but much younger in your lifetime. Do you think, or I guess maybe how does the inflation now compare to then? Was it just as big a concern in your younger years as it is now? Because I think any agent getting into the business right now is focused on things like inflation and interest rates and all that stuff. And I don't see it being any different than it was in the early 80s.
No, I think it's the same. It's just in the 80s versus now, you have a lot more. We have access to a lot more information socially, online, all that stuff than we did in 89. In 89, we had to do a lot more manual homework, or we didn't know as much. We didn't hear as much. So probably there wasn't. Actually, you know what? The fear was about the same as it is now. It just seems smaller than in 89 than it is now because there's been so many things happening in the last, let's say, 5 years. A lot of changes that there's uncertain, like we're not certain, we're not secured. We don't feel secured. We don't know what's happening. Like from 89 till about the 90s, like I could predict what was happening in the summer, what months were good, what months weren't, when you had to list your house, when you had to sell your home. Now, in the last 10 years, it's like 1 week is amazing, next week is dead. Mm-hmm. So you can't predict. You cannot predict. But I think we're going to get more back to that normal market now. But you're right. As far as what we were worried about before, we're just as worried now. The rates were way higher than they are now. Like 5-6% is really low compared to 13, 15, 19, 18%. So yeah, prices were much lower, and people are making way more money now than they were making in 89. There were a lot more, moms at home in 89 with their children. Now everybody is more into careers and making pretty good income. Like a young couple, they both make a good income. Mm. So I don't know. Like to me,
So you attribute it maybe mostly. You attribute it maybe mostly then to just how readily available the information is now compared to then.
There's a lot more fear. For me, like thinking how it was in the 80s versus now, I think our fear was, I don't know, how can I describe it? It's like smaller than it is now. Now it's the whole world, right? Like we're having exposure to everything that's happening everywhere in the world. All, the different thing. I don't know. That's just the thing. It just makes me a little bit more uncertain, I guess, because I can't predict. And I'm a control freak, so I like to predict.
I agree. Me too.
Mary, I wanted to ask you just to take this to the rental conversation. So there's a few headlines I was looking at this morning. One of them said that Canada's average rent in the entire country hit a new record high. Interestingly enough, when I first started my career, I don't know, this must have been 2015. I actually sold my aunt's house in Whitby, and then I swore never to drive up there again. That was the only one transaction I've ever done up there. But why I'm bringing this up is because we actually, initially she just wanted to rent it. We put it up for rent for 30 days, like no showings, no one interested in renting a house in Whitby. And then we put it on the market for sale, and 10 offers later, crazy sale price at the time. Is it different now? Are homes renting really quick as well? Like, has the rental craziness come out your way as well, or was it just the purchasing?
No, the rentals, we had a lot more rentals then because there was a lot of new homes and people bought the new homes. Their homes weren't sold, so we had to rent their homes. You know what I mean? So there was a lot more inventory in the rentals then in the 80s than there are now. Sure. Now we're short in rentals, and the rent is really expensive now. So compared to then, like you could rent a house out like for $1,200. Now it's $3,000, right?
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
And
I don't know what's going to happen in the rentals. Yeah.
Are the buyers that are buying your listings, are they end users these days? Are investors still existing out there for freehold properties, or are they people that are buying it and moving in?
Most of the people we sell to, we don't work with a lot of investors because I never really targeted that market. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are a lot of investors from other countries that are buying it. I know there are a lot of sales for that clientele. But we're selling a lot of homes to like mostly people that are buying for themselves. Right. I see investors coming out more now than I have in the last probably 6, 7, 8 years. They're looking at buying homes, but now that the rates changed, now they bought all these homes to rent, but now the rent is not going to cover the mortgage. So I don't know what's going to happen in that market.
We have this interesting. Yeah, it's interesting in Toronto right now because our condo inventory has started to build, putting us firmly in a balanced market right now, and that's obviously where we do a lot of our work. And a lot of the sellers that are coming to the market were investors. They're selling off their investment properties, but you're not having investors buying them. So you have investors selling, end users buying them, which then displaces the tenant to find a new property. But then what's also happening is that's removing one rental inventory from the market and creating an end user unit. And then it just makes rent. So yeah, I just feel like everything that's happened the last, 3.5 years or wherever we're at this point, the renters have actually felt the worst of it. Some of them maybe just don't know yet. It's been really interesting what's happened.
And that's why now the investors are building the rental condos. So I haven't seen that in many, many, many years, right? We have, I think, 5 of those going up in Durham. No, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
purpose-built rentals.
Yeah. And you know what? For the baby boomers, like there was one in Oshawa on Simcoe. It's rented out like that. Cassinger, I think, is the builder because he builds a nice product. And they were all seniors that moved in there, sold their homes, and they moved in there. That's another thing. If you're working with a client that's a senior and they come to you because they say, oh, Mary, I want to rent a condo. And I go, okay, let's see what's the nicest building available right now that you can stay in there for 10 years, whatever, until you're ready to go to that next move. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people are going to be selling their homes and then they're on the street and they can't find a home, right? So, and when I start seeing that the big guys are buying, like building buildings to rent, there's a huge need for it. I remember in the 80s, Nancy Sears and I, we talked about buying a piece of land and building a senior's home. And then I thought that was like so far away, like at that stage in my life, man, it got here really quick. I wish I had done that. I would have made a lot of money. So, yeah.
Yeah, I learned that with my grandparents.
Proactive. Yeah, they're being proactive. They're building those in Durham too. I don't know about Toronto market, but I know.
They're popping up for the first time in many, many years. A lot of the reason why is because Doug Ford removed rent control for the newer buildings. So just like a disclaimer out there as well, that if you rent to one of these buildings, these corporations don't forget to to hike up the rent every year. So that's just something to keep in mind. Mary, I wanted to end on 2 questions. So one is just about the real estate world. Okay. So you've been doing this for longer than me and Steve. When you first started, I'm sure there wasn't 80,000 realtors on the Toronto Real Estate Board or whatever crazy number it's at today. And I know some of that's bogus because really probably only 30% of them wake up every day trying to sell properties. But still, it's a lot of people. And you deal with realtors and Rich jokes with all of us is like, the real estate industry would be great as long as you didn't have to deal with other people, right? Like on the other side. I'm just thinking the skill level of a realtor. Is this market going to be good for our industry long term? Because there's a lot of people that got by on market trends. It ain't happening anymore. Is it going to be a good thing for us to, not that I want people to fail, I want people to succeed, but there's some people on the cusp that have just, this is a long question, but what are your thoughts on where we're at right now?
I think just like it happened before, I think a lot of realtors are going to go and get other jobs. They're not going to be able to stay in our industry. I saw that. I saw many realtors in the 80s that they were great. They were really good at what they did, and they ended going to sell furniture or sell cars or whatever. So I think they're going to find other jobs. It's going to be tougher for them to pull through. We have a lot of, I think it's over 72,000 realtors in the Toronto Real Estate Board, but I think in average they sell 1.5 house a year. And I think 40% of them don't even sell a house. So really you're not competing against those agents. Just so the one thing, I think there is a big market for realtors, but true professionals. If you want to stay in the business, it's not going to be just about, I'm going to sell a house here or a house there. If you have friends and family that, they're going to call you, they're going to get all the information. That happens to me a lot. I'll go in, give all the information, and then they call their brother or cousin or whatever, and then the cousin does the transaction. Those people will still sell their house here and there, and that's okay. No problem. But I think there's going to be a huge change in our industry in the next 2-3 years. I think there's going to be I really don't know what's going to happen next year. It's going to be more the people that bought in the peak of the boom. The other people they're fine. They're okay. Everything is good. And anyone that their mortgages are due. I'll give an example. I bought another condo, not the one I'm in. That's rental in the building that I'm in. I paid $449. They were selling for $820. I should have sold it then. I can still get $720. My mortgage is $244. It's going to come due May of 2024 next year. So next year, right now, it costs me $1,700 a month, for the mortgage payment. Next year at 6%, it's going to be probably close to $3,000. The rent is only $2,350 because he was a really good tenant. He's been there for 3 years. He's going to be there. He took a 5-year term because he's a senior. My payment's going to change. Am I going to be in a loss? But I still made really good money. I'm still making $300,000. So am I going to carry it? I'm definitely going to take advantage of that instead of 25-year, 45, 50 year, whatever, for a year, 2 year. I'm probably going to renew my mortgage for 2 years. Or 3 tops, and then change it over again. I'll be okay. But anybody that is not in a situation like myself, and you're an investor, those people are probably going to come on the market. It's really hard to predict. I'm having a real hard time predicting what's going to happen.
Steve, you'll take some joy in this because, Mary, my mortgage is up January next year. And I've been looking. I'm not taking a 5-year fix, Steve. I'm not a maniac, but I've been looking. I'm like, what's the 1 year? Oh no. What's the 2 year? And right now, it's looking like a 3-year fix is the path I'm going to take. No, Steve. What would you be doing right now? Do you take the variable because you think finally rates are going down next year? And do I just ride the wave I've died on, the hill I've died on?
If I'm renewing February of next year, given the information that I have right now.
You got the inside info?
Given the information I have right now, I think because what happened in the last little bit is, in the last maybe week or so, is all of those 5-year fixed rates have gone up.
I know.
Now the 5-year fixed rates, the 3-year fixed rates are generally at or higher than the variable rates. Yeah. So right now, I think is actually the time maybe you start thinking about a variable, as long as you have that easy out to switch over if you want to. Because when I told you to lock in, which I think would have been the right move, was 4.79 earlier this year, Tom Storey. That's when I think you would have been good for 5 years. But right now, at 6.2, right. 6.3. But I want to bring up something because I just did a video on my channel. Tons of hate, wonderful, talking about why it's never okay to rent and you should only ever buy and that sort of thing. I think a lot of tenants out there, I know we have our rent control. Like our rent control just came out at the crazy number of 3.5%, even though inflation was 5.6. 3.5% is where they came out. But like you said, Tom, all of our condos that we're selling right now are investor owned. Owner occupier is our buyer.
Yeah. Yep.
So all those tenants are getting booted. So here's where I'm going to make a proposal. I know they cannot force upon you a higher rent, but in the event, if you're a tenant listening to this and your landlord says, listen, I have to sell because I can't afford this anymore, you do have the ability to go to them and try and negotiate maybe a lower than market rent, but a higher than your rent, than the 3.5%, and say, is there a way we can stay here? Because my investment strategy is to break even, pay no more income tax, and just have somebody else pay down. But I have to increase my tenants now because I'm not allowed to increase them when my rents go up. So if like you say, if your property goes up, let's say $400 per month when your new rate comes around, I can't increase my tenant $400. So I have to increase them $75 this year, in hopes that I can increase them another $75 next year and the year after and the year after to catch up to where I think rates are going to be in the future. So it's actually causing rents to go up more than they need to, because I was never someone that increased my rents before I couldn't increase them. Right. So, or I had a need to. So now I have a need to and I can't. So I have to do it by that little bit each time. So I don't know. I think renters are in such trouble because as the market slows, more people jump back in for buying. Right. The prices come down, more buyers, first timers are going to hop into the market. And then that, like you said, Tom, is removing rentals from the marketplace, causing rentals to go back up. So it's just that cycle of, is it a renter or is it an investor or is it a first time buyer? And it's just constantly.
It's going to be an interesting end to 2023. Mary, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I knew I was going to enjoy this conversation because we talk offline all the time, but I learned more about you, things that I didn't know. And I think anyone listening to this is going to go away feeling better about their day because you're a bundle of joy and a firecracker, and it's awesome. I'm just curious to wrap things up here. Any final words of wisdom? Doesn't have to be real estate, doesn't have to be whatever, just anything on your mind you think people should listen to?
If I can give any advice to anyone, is like, never give up. Always like have big dreams and turn them into a reality. And if they're beyond your imagination, like, don't worry, like just whatever it is, like, I don't know. And if times are tough, it's okay. That's what makes us stronger. That's what makes us better people. So don't ever be afraid of challenges in life. Challenges is growth. And if anybody needs anything, I'm here.
Yeah. Well, if you're selling in Ajax, Pickering, or Whitby, you know who to call if you're watching or listening to this podcast. Or just life advice. Mary, I might be calling you once a month just to get a pep talk. Moving forward.
I want one of those Mary kick in the butt calls.
Yeah,
every
me
day,
too.
because I'm charged up. I'm going to go list 17 properties today.
Yes, there you go.
Awesome. Well, Mary, thank you so much. So if anyone is listening to this that wants to connect with you or your team, what's the best place for them to go to connect with you guys?
It's Mary Roy. Mary Roy at maryroyteam.com or 905-426-7515.
Awesome. Mary, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you spending some time with us today. For anyone that's watched this far on YouTube, if you haven't already, Mary wants you to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Okay. She told me
Yes.
before the show. That's all she really wanted you to do. And if you're listening on the audio platforms, I hope you're having an awesome day. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mary, Steve. Pretty good mood today. Not as grouchy as normal. So we appreciate that. And we will see everybody next week. Bye.
You both inspired me. Bye. Love
Thanks,
you.
Mary.
Thank you.
Okay,
That was
one sec.
fantastic.
I'm just going to end.